I have had a long-standing love affair with RPGs. From my first steps as Geralt racing a preteen Ciri through Kaer Morhen to a little-known planet called Eden Prime. I have character created, blasted, and slashed, and romanced my way through all the good, bad, and ugly of modern games. I felt the deep, enduring disappointment of Mass Effect Andromeda, as well as feeling the same for the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. I did, however, re-download Cyberpunk after the Phantom Liberty release just to give it another shot, and I'm glad that I did. Cyberpunk is now a game that stays installed on my SD, and I revisit it along with all my old friends in the game every time the itch hits me, which is almost on a bi-monthly basis. New releases like Dragon Age Veilguard caused me to go back to the origins, wink wink, of some well-loved franchises and see what all the hype was about. I even played all of the OG Doom games after being blown away by the recent Doom The Dark Ages. I love games more than books or movies, even. In fact, it's my main hobby. If I'm not at work or hanging out with my family, then I'm probably sinking hundreds of hours into whatever my current game obsession is. That being said, this last year, I have found it harder and harder to find games I really love. Love in the way that I loved Mass Effect the first time I played it. Games like Assassin's Creed Shadow get a trial run and promptly get refunded before the 2-hour Steam window. That's not to say I don't love graphical powerhouses, but those games aren't really doing it for me. Instead, I find myself drawn to games made by smaller teams. Take Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon, for example. This game is very clearly a love letter to the RPG genre. You can feel the passion in every aspect of the game, from the music to the tongue-in-cheek humor to the thoughtful and impactful side quests. It's not a game where I feel like my time is being wasted. It's a game where I know my choices actually matter. Even as early as the prologue, you begin making decisions that will lead you down a specific narrative path. And I really am afraid to make the wrong choice. This is a game that feels like it was made by players for players. It's also more than fairly priced, and there's not one single microtransaction in sight. In fact, Awakened Realms' Steam updates poked fun at microtransaction and poor consumer practices by adding a golden horse armor to the game that you can wait for it, earn by performing in-game quests, exactly as it should be. Another game at the top of my badasses of gaming list, which hasn't yet been released, is an early access game called We Harvest Shadows. Shadows will pop up in your recommended if you're a fan of, say, Stardew Valley or Subnautica. But what is it exactly? Well, it originally started out with one single solo developer, but based on their Twitter updates, it looks like they're branching into at least a couple of more devs. In fact, if you have Unity experience, check out the Twitter for David Whaley. It looks like he's hiring for a senior Unity engineer. But moving on to the actual game that's being developed, it's a single-play story that follows you as you move into a rundown house in the literal middle of nowhere and set about making yourself self-sustainable. You craft things, you build things, you plant and harvest and get the shit scared out of you. The projection character is clearly going through a deeply transitory self-discovery, and honestly, it scratches that itch I have every day to say fuck my corporate job and move into the woods and forget about this whole mess of a world that's out here. It's a game focused on psychological horror, served up with a nice helping of harvest this corn, farmer boy. And that's the cool thing about indie dev. These sometimes tiny dev teams wear all the hats of game dev. Think music, writing, sound design, coding, level design, QA testing, and all the things I don't know about. They handle their own marketing and their own distribution, and I love that. It makes what could feel like an impersonal experience feel deeply personal. Circling back to Tainted Grail, I've been following that game since day one. Back in the choppy, rough early access days to up to the release last week. I put in about 80 hours into just early access alone, and I just wrapped up Act 1 for the full release. The devs were generous and expansive with their updates, and they involved the fans. Playing through the beta and submitting bug reports felt fantastic. I felt like I was contributing to something that other people were going to see the final product of. It's a game that cultivates a community and thrives on it and gives you one hell of a bang for buck. This is just not an experience you get with AAA. Don't get me wrong, there have been some recent bangers. Take Doom: The Dark Ages, for example. Recently absolutely rocked my socks off. But indie dev are the stories of the little guys with big dreams making a difference in the world of games, and for all of us out here on the other side of the screen. They still care about the stories, and they care about the players and your enjoyment of their creation. And that's just not a vibe that I get from the big boys of gaming. All of this to say that I think the gaming industry is missing something that seems to be missing in all walks of life, not just our hobbies, but our society as a whole. And that thing is integrity. Game companies that I used to love, like Bethesda or even BioWare, which used to be just an absolute powerhouse of amazing writing and deeply personal RPGs, have turned into a shell of themselves. Every new game that BioWare releases prompts a litany of articles saying, oh, is this the game that's finally going to get them dissolved? And that's really sad, because think about Mass Effect, think about Dragon Age, think about those experiences and those friendships that you formed around those games. Not just the in-game experiences, but communicating with other people and talking about your love for that game or your fan theories or sharing your gameplay. Even something like YouTube. I'm doing this hobby because I want to be able to talk about games with people. I want to surround myself with people who think like me and are as excited about this industry as I am. But when you take honesty and transparency and ethics out of a business, you're basically just left with monetization. And that's problematic. Like, yeah, absolutely, you should be making money off of your product, and I have no problem with that. However, I want to feel like you earned my money. I work hard for my money like everyone else. I go to a 9-to-5 job and bust my ass and deal with a total asshole of a boss. And when I come home and I have some time to myself to spend on my hobbies, I want to feel like the games that I'm playing were designed with my comfort and my tastes in mind. I want to be immersed in amazing storytelling and deep characters who make me cry when horrible things happen to them, or even when great things happen to them. Think about Ciri reuniting with Geralt in The Witcher 3. Having played none of the other games before, that was a crazy moment to take part in. Or even, for example, playing Cyberpunk 2077, when Jackie dies, your heart is literally ripped out. You are hand on shoulder of a friend while he dies in pursuit of, guess what? Capitalism! Wah! So yes, you will be seeing me support as many indie devs as I possibly can and indie games on this channel, because at this point, I want to see success from these companies. I think that they are worth listening to, and the games are certainly worth playing, and they speak for themselves. That being said, congrats to Awaken Realms on their hugely successful release of Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. I am loving the game and am super excited to get into the second act. So, that being said, don't forget to toss a coin to your Witcher on the way to the bar, and have a beautiful day. I'll see you in the next one.